Welcome back to another episode of the Big 12 Huddle. As always, here I'm your host, Calvin Glen Alexander, host of the CGA Tour podcast. Tonight we got a very special episode because I'm joined by the one, the only, the Colton Davidson, a frequent guest of the CGA Tour podcast, to discuss some Big 12. The all Big 12 preseason poll came out, I think, a little bit earlier today, maybe yesterday. And, of course, 4th of July festivities are over. We're back at it here on the Big 12 Huddle and want to talk some football, as well as talk a little bit Ollie Gordon and the arrest, and a little bit of some Heisman guys who I just don't think make any sense. So with that being said, Colton, Shedeur Sanders is I think he is listed here as the quarterback, for the All Big 12 team. It's actually Cam Rising, but the possible player of the year is Ollie Gordon. But Shedeur Sanders has been mentioned here as All Big 12 second team, also has some Heisman hopefuls, everything like that. I just am stunned because the guy's getting a lot of hype. I think he's decent, but I don't think the Colorado team's going to be good. Am I missing something?
No, I think this is kind of piggybacking off of all of the media success that Colorado had last year, where they were kind of the darlings of the college football world, especially after they beat TCU and then beat Colorado State, and they're on this big high, and they got to be both the villains, they got to be the heroes, they got to be all this they got to be kind of everything last year at the beginning of the year. Then they fell off by the end. They just didn't have the depth or the offensive line play to really compete in the Pac-12 last year. And I think that this is, everybody kind of can recognize that there is talent on that Colorado team. It's just how long until Dion is going to be able to get more guys in the building that can kind of help support that talent, because Shedeur can't win it on his own. Travis Hunter missed a lot of time last year with a very gruesome injury. But and I've been talking I talked to lots of different people about this, and they kind of think that the guy I talked to the most, kind of thought that Travis Hunter needs to just kind of play one side, and he thinks he's a better wide receiver than he is corner. So it's really cool that he plays both sides. I played high school football, and I had to play both sides, and I just kind of have this extra amount of respect, and I kind of have a hot take that football should be played that way, where you have to play both sides. But that's not what we're talking about today. I think it's really cool, and I do respect it. But at some point, he's going to have to choose whether he's a corner or wide receiver. And I did look. I think it had him. They got him on the list as a corner. Yeah, actually, Travis Hunter as a defensive back here. Which I think it's a little bit like everybody kind of recognizes that there's 3 or 4 superstars on that team, but it's just kind of how well coached are they, and is there enough supporting talent to make that team go? And it's a pretty tough Big 12 at this all the way. They're really top to bottom. It's a pretty tough league this year.
Yeah, this Colorado team to me is one where, Coach of the Year, they're saying is Chris Klieman. Player of the Year is Ollie Gordon. Newcomer of the Year is the transfer from Arkansas, KJ Jefferson to UCF. But, you look at it and you go, okay, defensive back, Travis Hunter. Okay, is there any other Colorado guy missing on defense? Nope. Is there any guy missing special teams? Oh, there's Travis Hunter again, all-purpose special teams, which I think really means returner and also probably coverage guy. Mm-hmm. When they're punting as well. And then I'm looking on the other part of it in the offensive side. Is there any guy listed in Colorado? And there's just not. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but to me, this seems like a team where it's you and me playing with a bunch of other high schoolers on our team, or maybe junior high guys, and we have to go play a high school football team. We have to go play 6A. We're two, almost 30-year-old guys. I'm trying to have the kind of equilibrium, make sense. But it's I don't want to talk a bunch of crap about Colorado guys, but at the end of the day, they brought in a great transfer class. It'll be interesting to see how they do. I'm just not high on the team. Shedeur Sanders could get drafted number 1 overall. Stuff's crazy. We saw Mitch Trubisky get drafted, number 2 overall. Right. Drafted as Patrick Mahomes, Sean Watson, et cetera, et cetera. But with Travis Hunter, I think you're right as well. I think he needs to decide which side of the ball to play on. And he's having to play both sides of the ball because it's like you got 2 30-year-old guys playing with a bunch of middle schoolers, and they're trying to go up and play a bunch of high schoolers. Well, it's not equally now. The 30-year-old guys are not that much better than the high schoolers, which we probably would be worse, honestly.
Would definitely be worse.
We'd be much worse. But, the high school football I've seen is also, my brother who is playing, I think he played Class 3A football in Oklahoma. So that's just the high school football I've seen before, too. So that's kind of the realm my mind operates in right now. It does not operate in Bishop McGinnis and, all the Tulsa, type of stuff either. But with that being said, I think it's so hard for a guy to have Heisman hopes, Heisman talk, when 6 games into the season, they'll be lucky to be 500.
Yeah. I've been watching sports for a long time now, and I can just smell that this team is probably going to have maybe it'll have another hot start, but it just smells like they're overrated, and they're going to get blown out a couple more times this year, and it's going to be really bad, and it just doesn't feel like, I don't have a great feeling about this Colorado team. I think it'd be great if they're really good, and the Big 12 needs 4 good teams. They need more teams to kind of compete with the SEC brainwashing that's happening about how great they are, and right now they are the best league in the country, maybe better than some of the NFL divisions. But we need some more Big 12. Let me think here. But I do think one that's kind of going under the radar is Utah coming into the league, because I think Utah's like always solid, and I think I texted you about this one time, or maybe it was my friend Corey. That I feel like Utah's just had the same quarterback for the last 20 years, where I remember doing my the first time I got to watch bowl season was a Utah State game. The Utes, Utah, the Utes were playing somebody in a meaningless bowl game, and I was watching, and it was random white dude with a little bit of facial hair and shoulder length brown hair was the quarterback. And I feel like that's you have to meet that minimum to play quarterback for Utah. That's just what you have to be, because I never see any other style of quarterback playing there. But I feel like I was looking, and it's like they've got the quarterback on this all Big 12 team the list here. They've got a pretty solid coach. I think they just announced that he's going to be retiring in a few years. They got an heir apparent there. But I just feel like that's a really solid top to bottom team that might make a lot of noise this year.
Yeah, the Utah quarterbacks, like Alex Smith, weirdly, just, Utah quarterback. But to your point, Cam Rising's been there. This is his 7th season of college football without transferring, I think. Whereas Alan Bowman, Oklahoma State guy, of course, I know when I say 7 years, and, we're both having the same kind of reaction, okay, 7 years? Really? But on the other hand, this is the 3rd team for Alan Bowman, and he started, and he's gotten benched, and now he's starting again. Whereas Cam Rising just gets injured or just plays. I mean, he's not necessarily, I'm sure he's a redshirt year in there. He has COVID. He's got a medical redshirt, assuming from last season he's able to come back. But to your point here about the top 10 Utah quarterbacks ever, most of them are not just for 1 season or 2 seasons. They do not. There's not a Cam Newton of sorts, or a guy who had a flash in the pan for 1 or 2 years. There's Tyler Huntley, Brian Johnson, who had a gap where 05 to 06 not great, but the years around there just awesome. And then Alex Smith, and then we'll see here on Cam Rising how he finishes out. But there's the guys where for Utah I go, okay, they'll be decent, but either they're going to go to the Rose Bowl kind of team, type team, like Rose Bowl type team, and do really well, or just kind of peter out like they did last season, where it's okay, I forgot. Did they make a bowl game last year? What happened? And then there's this weird coach deal where Kyle Whittingham says, hey, the defensive coordinator is the next coach in waiting, which to me means that the defensive coordinator came up and said, hey, I got a couple offers. I'm thinking about leaving. What's your plan? Does the due diligence, gives the head coach a heads up. I don't want to leave you stranded here because I got these offers late enough in the cycle would really kill you. And Kyle Whittingham goes, you know what, actually, I was thinking about retiring here in a year or two. This doesn't usually work. That's the other part. I mean, I haven't seen the last time that a guy's like, oh yeah, that works real well to have the coach in waiting. I mean, Bob Stoops, Lincoln Riley, and he's gone immediately. Once there's SEC rumors, Lincoln Riley's like, you know what, I'm going to go play in the Pac-12. And now, of course, he's now playing in the Big Ten, which is funny. Yeah. Did anything else strike you as a little bit odd here from that all season, kind of the all Big 12 preseason, rankings here, or I guess all team? Big 12, I'm going to say like 7 different ways here on the podcast. Excuse me. But
yeah.
Anything else kind of strike us being a little odd here?
Oh, I'm kind of surprised that the Kansas quarterback is not really mentioned in this article at all. After he had like an electric first half of the season, and just kind of had like a lingering back injury, and then didn't play the rest of the year. Did you ever hear any more about what's going on with that guy?
Yeah, apparently he's back. He's just fine. He'll be all good. But I remember vividly. I don't know if you remember when we had kind of the Garrett Rangel / Gavin Gundy, or Gunner Gundy, excuse me, Gunner. Kind of they both kind of played at the same time. But yeah, Jason Bean, he didn't play, but then their backup killed us. Where I'm surprised the KU quarterback backup didn't transfer, honestly, somewhere, because he left for the NFL, and he's gotten signed with the Indianapolis Colts. So excuse me for that, because I was really curious why he didn't leave. Because I think that was the team last year that played OU really well. So it just seemed, or 2 years ago. So it just seems odd. I don't know if you're KU. I am stunned with how quick people are to say, "Hey, KU, good at football now." I'm shocked with how quickly they've just gone. Well, I think they'll be good. I don't see it at all whatsoever. I don't see it this quickly either, except for their schedule this year is laughable. That's the one thing that they can take to the bank and own, because they don't play anyone this year in the Big 12. They avoid they avoid like everyone. They play Lindenwood College to start, which didn't know as a school. It's not an FCS school I've heard of before, for example, right?
Yeah.
And then the other teams that Kansas plays, I know I'm kind of going on my little Kansas rant here, but after playing Lindenwood, then they go ahead, and then the next week, I think they play, just absolutely no one. And that's the funny part about this whole deal. It's like, I don't think Kansas football is good. I just think they got a really lucky draw this year on their schedule. Because after Lindenwood, then they play Illinois, which a Big Ten team, but the worst Big Ten team, or one of the worst Big Ten teams in football.
No, Rutgers just stays on the Big Ten, so.
Oh yeah, that's who they are. Then you got UNLV. Then they go play at West Virginia, which isn't easy, but they don't play. For example, Kansas does not play. They don't play Utah, and they don't play Oklahoma State, and they also do not play. Who else am I missing here? And they don't play UCF either. So, and UCF may not be good. They may not be great. They may be okay. But point being, they dodged 2 of the 3 best Big 12 teams, I'd say, this year.
So the schedule's set up. So the schedule's set up for them to make some noise and make a Big 12 championship if they just play well. Yeah.
Which is just good riddance. I mean, like, I think KU will be decent. Lance Leipold will help guide them to a little bit of a Big 12 rise, and then they'll get maybe if they get 9 wins, which I think is realistic seeing the schedule here. They're facing a TCU team where we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Arizona State team that is. I'm shocked I'll be shocked if they get to 6 wins. Houston, same deal. K-State, that'll probably be a loss for Kansas. If it's not, I'd be shocked. Iowa State, I think it's kind of a toss-up. BYU, who knows who's playing QB. Colorado, if Kansas is really that good, then they shouldn't lose to Colorado. And then Baylor for the last regular season game, where you would think they'd win. So you think Baylor would lose, as Dave Aranda would be so hot he'd be fired after the game. But man, I just can't. Kansas football. I guess that's the thing. I cannot believe that Kansas football is already like, oh, they're good. They're great. Yeah. It just and I do agree with you as well too. Like, why are we not hearing anything at all except for Devin Neal? And also, what kind of preseason all-team offense has 3 running backs on it? I mean, just what are we doing here, guys? I mean, there's 1 tight end position? Isn't it usually an offense? You tell me if I'm wrong. Don't you have a quarterback, a running back, maybe a fullback? So I understand 2 running back spots, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and then 5 O-line guys.
Well, they've got 13 positions here, so I guess they're just trying to include good players. I don't really know.
I feel like someone said, hey, we need to put Arizona State. We need to give Arizona State a guy. Okay, who are we going to give him? Jane Higgins. Okay, he's wide receiver. We already have 2 wide receivers that are way better than him. Well, we got to put him somewhere. We'll just add a whole position. There'll just suddenly be 13 players on offense.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that was the whole deal. Because defensively, there's 4 D-line guys, there's 3 linebackers, and then there's 4 defensive backs. So that math is perfect. I mean, it's just a weird deal. The other takeaway I have here from this All Big 12 preseason team is that there's a bunch of Oklahoma State guys on here. There's 6 Oklahoma State guys. There's 4 on offense. Of course, we've got running back Ollie Gordon II. We've got wide receiver Brian Presley, and then 2 O-line guys who, Joe Mikowski and Dalton Cooper, which I wish I could say their names better, but very good. And then on defense, Nick Martin and Colin Oliver, 2 guys who are Oklahoma State fans know really, really well and are household names in our books, I'd say, and we should be good. I mean, that would be real helpful, I would say. And then also, I do want to add, I think these all Big 12 preseason teams are a little funky to begin with because you're not having 100 people vote on this. The poll participants is a list of 10, 12 people. So,
yeah.
And, then there's 4 of them are all named Scott anyways. So I'm making fun of the fact that every writer that votes on this is named Scott. But besides that, it's just, there's a couple that are just funny. And also for anyone who really wants to poke fun at us here and listen to this, yes, there's 13 because when I read the fine print here, it says that denotes a tie in voting resulting in an additional position being added to the team. So, the Arizona State guy is one of those ties with Brennan Presley, that was tied. So I guess the wide receiver 2 position and running back 2 position were tied. Now, I don't know, maybe you open it up where you have 100 people vote on it, or you just, whatever, and all of a sudden it could be a lot more fun. But every writer who's credentialed for each university gets a vote. That'd be fun. Do that over a week. Go online, vote for it. It'd be good. Cap it at 10 writers or voters per school. Whatever. Get you and I to vote on it. I'm sure we would.
Yeah, we would be unbiased completely.
Super unbiased. We'd be putting all the Colorado, all the Utah guys on there, all the Kansas guys. After you hear us talk about that ad nauseum. Not one Oklahoma State guy. Not at all.
Yeah. Well, so Calvin, this is kind of indicative of a thought I've shared with some OU fans in my life that they ask, how do I feel about this upcoming season as an OSU fan? And I generally don't feel great, but I kind of should, right? Because, look, if you look at it on paper without any baggage of what me and you have had in the last 10 years of OSU football, is, hey, we have probably the best running back in the league. We have a really good wide receiver core. We have a really great wide receivers coach, and that they just guys walk into OSU as wide receivers, and they end up getting drafted in the NFL. They don't always do so great in the NFL, or they, but usually we've produced a lot of Biletnikoff winners. We've done all this. We've usually had all these great high-flying offenses. We have a returning quarterback who's a veteran, and maybe he's not a game winner, but at the minimum, he's not going to hurt us too badly. And then we have one of the longest tenure coaches in college football who's been coaching in this league for a long, long, long time. And so you kind of look at that without all this baggage, and you go, oh yeah, OSU is set up with the 2 biggest dogs in the yard leaving. OSU should be set up. So why is it that me and you probably both will say, well, we'd be shocked if OSU finishes 2nd or 3rd in Big 12. We wouldn't be shocked if they did that this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all, honestly. I think this year is a huge prove it year for Gundy, because after this year, a lot goes into this year. After this year for Oklahoma State football, we're talking about no Ollie Gordon, no Alan Bowman, and granted, there's a bunch of other quarterbacks on the roster who I hope are able to get some playing time during this year because we are blowing teams out. If we do not blow out South Dakota State, I would not be shocked. They are arguably the best or second best FCS or FBS Division II team. So they're really good. That's not a whole cupcake. Arkansas, an SEC team, is who we play in week 2. That's not a cupcake either. So I hope we see our quarterbacks get some quarterback backups get some playing time, because Alan Bowman's not coming back for an 8th year. I don't think it's getting granted. So this year is just a really make it or break it year for the whole Gundy kind of. But it's also not. It's also not a make it or break it year, because this is Gundy's 19th season of coaching. So is he going to make it to 20? You would think. He's not going to retire for 19 seasons. You would think he makes it to 20 seasons, no matter what. And also, after this season, what does OSU football look like? Would we go back more to the air raid because we wouldn't have Ollie Gordon at running back? Would we see a little bit more of a transition? Would Casey Dunn play a little bit more of an offensive coordinator role? That's actually where we feel like it's really him calling the play as opposed to Gundy kind of going, hey, we're running the ball because Ollie's that good. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on this year. I think the pressure has been building, and I don't know if that got to Ollie Gordon when he got arrested or not. I don't know what goes into that dumb decision to be driving with alcohol with open containers in the car.
Yeah, it's just undefensible.
It's stupid. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The only possible saving grace that I'd say, and it is one, no one was injured, of course. But besides that, and if I'm just talking on the field stuff, because I think that's the only thing I'm qualified in the situation to comment on is the on the field stuff, is that everyone got scared in June. Oklahoma State football got scared and went, oh crap, we're not above everything. Some idiot star player, the best player on our team, can be an idiot. The guy who's in college football 25 can be an idiot and be driving around with open handles in his car and get pulled over and get a DUI. No one's above anything. We're not going to get lucky, and no one ever get pulled over the whole season. Just, hey, don't fall asleep in the Whataburger drive-thru, which did happen to Oklahoma State player at one point. So,
yep,
that's the okay. I'm trying to be super optimistic, Calvin, and say that. But on the other hand, there's
they got their big dumb mistake out of the way.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that our schedule is set up in a way to have a slump, have a loss to K-State or Utah. One or the other. You're not losing to both, in my mind, and then still make it to Big 12 championship. There's just too many good teams this year. KU, K-State, Utah all have favorable schedules to make it far. So Arizona, haven't mentioned them yet. They've got Noah Fafita, who looks like he's supposed to be one heck of a good quarterback as well. So there's not going to be room for Oklahoma State to have a mess up of 2 games and still go on. But if you lose a game early, generally speaking, you can kind of make your way back up in the polls. And if there's a tiebreaker we need or 2, then it comes down to the polls, all type of stuff. I like how our schedule breaks out at the end where we play Colorado, who at that point should be every team's going to be pretty darn beat up. But if your team is built around 2 guys and you're Colorado, then you're probably going to be beat up pretty darn good in the last game of the season. We also play a couple other teams towards the end of the season that should be a little bit easier as well too. So that makes me feel a lot better as well. This just seems like a lot of pressure on this team this year, because if we don't win the Big 12 this year, it's going to be another couple of years before I think we have a good chance again. And definitely a chance like this one. I mean, we might have a decent chance next year because the Big 12 is kind of like an open field. Who will be the OU of the new, Big 12? But yeah, I'm nervous. I'm nervous for sure.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's really tough. I want so many good things to happen for the Oklahoma State team. I'm always so hopeful, but then again, I'm like, okay, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's just the Oklahoma State mindset. Is we've come into so many seasons with so much hope, especially when the 4 years that I was on campus and we had Mason Rudolph all 4 years. It's like every year that we had that guy behind the center, we felt like we had a chance. And then I don't think we never won the Big 12 championship with him at quarterback, did we?
No, it's a Big 12 championship, and it's 2011.
Okay, well, yeah. So it just sucks. It just sucks that me and you know better than to get too hyped. Like I think my senior year, there was a Sports Illustrated or ESPN magazine came out with Mason Rudolph on the cover about how they were like playoff favorites. Like, ooh, don't like this feeling. I don't like this at all. But
yeah, there was that Zach Robinson basically hiking the ball from under center on the cover, and now he's the Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator, and just feels like that was a century ago, and really was in the past 15 years, maybe 20 if I'm trying to. I mean, definitely had to be.
I think
4, but still.
09 or 010, yeah. So it'd been 15.
So I mean, it's right there. The two things I'd add is that we have a really, really good offensive line. Our offensive line average age is older on average than the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that just seems crazy.
That's awesome. That's a hilarious stat.
I mean, and honestly, the average age I think is closer to our age than it is to like college freshmen. I mean, the average age is like 24.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know you're not. I know I'm almost 31. I know you're not 30. So I'll say it that way. Maybe it's closer to average to your age.
Not yet.
Bring mine into it.
I'm only 2 years behind you. I'm not that far.
But still, I mean, if I'm really trying to play averages here, you know, a high schooler is 17. You know. They're far from there. They're 23 and a half. The other great thing for this Oklahoma State offense is that I got Brandon Presley and Rashad Owens back. You know, I mean, there are other guys besides just Ollie Gordon. This does not have to be the only thing that makes the offense work. You know, Ollie Gordon has a bad series or bad game or whatever. There are other ways to win the game. Defensively, hopefully the Brian Nardo defensive scheme will really kick out this 3-3-5 defense. And then also, Nick Martin, Colin Oliver, linebackers, able to do some stuff. You know, Kendall Daniels. Now apparently he's also going to play linebackers. Now we've got three guys at linebacker who are our best 3 defenders. And we're not replacing too many guys. We're replacing some, but not replacing everyone. There's 20. Right. I think 20 starters are returning. So. And I think one of the starters that left is the kicker or the punter. I forget. I think the kicker. So we'll see. I'm a very optimistic Oklahoma State fan until proven otherwise, and that's generally speaking. But that doesn't mean I'm not concerned or worried in any way. You know, I mean, there is the excitement factor. I can't wait. Hopefully this goes really good. Like. I'm kind of sweating a little bit, you know, my palms. Like, you know, I'm singing the Eminem song "Lose Yourself" in the back of my head before each game goes on because I'm like, you know what, like this is the moment we gotta capture greatness. But I'm also going. But if we don't, like, it's gonna be rough because like this should be our year. If there were divisions in the Big 12 and there was a division with K-State and Utah in one and we were in the other one, we should be winning that division without a doubt. It does suck that we have to play both those teams back-to-back in the season, but I'm being optimistic. It's very fortunate that they're early on in the season. They're the first 2 Big 12 games we play to open it up. We play one of them at home, one of them away. Cool. It's better than playing both away. You know, I'm trying to be like, how America's brightest orange can I paint this, you know, or how can America's brightest orange glasses can I see this through? You know, I mean, just what really can I do? Because you know what? I mean, this photo behind me, great times. Winning Bedlam like that, great times. Losing games in Boone Pickens Stadium sucks. There is not a worse feeling than losing a game at home that you should win, in my opinion. And as long as we don't have a weird UCF game like we did last year, or a weird K-State game like we did the year before, where we just absolutely just forget how to play football the whole time and we don't score or we only score 3 points, I think we'll be good. I think we'll be fine. And fine might be good enough to get to Big 12 championship this year. That's the key other thing. Cam Rising and the KU quarterback Jason Bean, both of them are injury prone. And the K-State quarterback Avery Johnson, unproven. Don't know. Heads or tails, could be really good, could not be. It looks good in the bowl game. He hasn't played much else. So when we're thinking about other quarterbacks, I'm going, Stuart Sanders, is he really going to do this? Is he really going to take the cake? Is he really going to walk around and be like, hey, Big 12 is mine now? I just don't see it. Because, like you said about Travis Hunter, that's the guy, the one guy he has on his team that other teams will be like, well, if he's playing 140 snaps. He's playing 70 each side of the ball. By the time the fourth quarter hits, no one under any physical specimen type of athleticism can last in playing college football.
Right.
So you're going to wear down. You're not going to be that good. And Travis Hunter is going to have to run back 2 kickoffs in the first half to be, playing Utah, for example, and that physical team. I'm not saying Pac-12 is not physical, but I'd say the Big 12 is more physical teams than the Pac-12 does, and that's who they played last year, and they still were 4-8. So I don't know. That's my rant on gosh, everything.
Yeah, I guess that there's going to be even more snaps in the Big 12 because of all the air raid offenses, all the no huddle offenses. So we'll see how they adjust. We'll see how everything goes. So I'm excited for the year. I'm hopefully going to be able to take my in-laws to a game this year. I think that'll be a lot of fun, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah,
Sean Boone Pickens Stadium. There's no way you're getting cheese fries on game day, but maybe the day before. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no way. If anyone ever comes up to Stillwater, hit up at the CGA Tour on Twitter. I'm free to give any recommendations, and I'm there every day of the week. So give you some ideas. But yeah, there's a lot of fun in Stillwater when it's a win, and there's a lot of annoyance when it's not. And a lot
the sadness in Stillwater tastes a lot like Zaxby's cold, terrible chicken. That's what's sad. That's what a loss tastes like to me.
You know what? Sounded great? Canes, because they're still open in Stillwater. Zaxby's shut down and left town. They were not that good. Why there are 20 fast food chicken places in Stillwater, Oklahoma, a town of 40,000 people? I will never understand, really.
Yeah.
I want to have a ranking at some point here of places in Stillwater that you're still surprised are open. How is this still open? And just go through it.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be actually really fun.
Walmart neighborhood market that's on north of Perkins. Why? Has ever been there? Do tell, because I go get gas there because it's the cheapest because no one else is there. So there's the fascinations I have. Just all over the place. There's some places are just staples of Stillwater, Oklahoma, and I'm assuming the landowner owns the land now. They're not selling until something changes circumstantially with their lives. But there's also some stuff where I'm like, this plot of land has never changed, and it seems like it's in a good enough location that it should. So what are we doing? Jimmy John's. Have you ever thought, you know what? I'm going to go to Jimmy John's or Insomnia Cookies at midnight. It's cookies. Who's going in for a sub?
Yeah. At the same time,
that's prime real estate right on Washington. I've got so many rants about this. The last one I'll say is that there is a Sprouts. There is a health food Sprouts store in Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'm very happy there is. It's great. Every time I've been in there, it's been me and 6 other people who are all looking around look at that guy. Look at that guy. And it's like the Parks and Rec, the Ron.
Yeah.
Going in and going, oh, I love going to, whatever the Whole Foods type of store they have, knockoff is in that store, going, it's just great watching. It's like the zoo.
Yeah.
Going to the Sprouts and Stillwater, I'm like, it's like the zoo. They have Starburst just in a huge bucket that you can, put a scoop in and then put in a plastic bag. Because, the wrapper of Starburst is just too complicated for everyone. Or sometimes Starburst in bulk is just the way to go. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Before I get off on too many other just random topics about Stillwater, Oklahoma, or small town Oklahoma, any other thoughts on the Big 12 football season here before we kind of wrap up this shorter episode here? It's very OSU centered, but that's what everyone's this week here. That's kind of it's kind of the name of the game.
I'm sure someone who knows us is like, I wonder if we're going to talk about OSU on the Big 12. The 2 guys that graduated from Oklahoma State and have watched Oklahoma State all their lives are going to talk about Oklahoma State on their Big 12 their Big 12 wrap up. We talked about OSU. I still think we're stuck with Gundy until Gundy's done. We're never going to get rid of him. But it just was so disappointing last year to see there was that Central Arkansas loss where they just didn't look like they wanted to play, and then there's the UCF game. How do you only score 3 points? I just don't get that. Then we had the heartbreaking loss in the Big 12 championship. where Texas just ran all over us and just was clearly the more gooder team in that league. So we'll just kind of see what this next season has for us, and we'll see if Gundy and that coaching staff can get something figured out, because they've got on paper a pretty talented team this year. We'll just got to see. I think on paper it's a great team that should win this league, is what I kind of think. But the pessimist in me, that the guy, like, even looking through the orange colored glasses, I don't know that I can get there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree, but I don't want to. You know, I want to say, you know what? After we play Tulsa and we're 3-0 and we get Utah at home the next week, we're rocking and rolling. Can't wait for it, and I can see it in my head. And I can also see, okay, how did we lose to Arkansas on a last-second field goal? All right, we're 1-1. We barely pulled it out against South Dakota State. I'm hoping we can go to at Tulsa and win there, you know, and do something. And also, I will say, there will be some type of suspension or lack of playing time or whatever for Ollie Gordon, and there should be. I mean, I'm not saying there should be. And when that happens, what will that look like? How will that affect the team? Will that be, okay, crap, there's, you know, he's out for the first 2 games. Will he be out for a game? This guy named Roger Phipps, who does the UCF podcast at the 9-1, who I generally have on, do a lot of the Big 12 Huddles podcast episodes with me, and he's adamant that there's just no way Ollie Gordon would be out for more than a series. And I'm like, you know what? There's a chance. There's a chance Gundy just goes, you know what? You're an idiot. You had a DUI. You're driving around. And also last year, Gundy made plenty of comments to the media after games going, he's got to have better composure. And just Gordon does. And I'm one of the guys where I was really hoping he would have showed a better composure and not had some issue like this in the offseason for us to talk about. And you know what? I also think it's really good because Gundy said, or Oklahoma State said, or whatever, that Gordon's going to Big 12 Media Days. He's there now in Vegas, and he's going to get asked about this. He's going to be put under the microscope early about this issue. And I don't know, maybe it all won't be cleared up before the first game. Yeah, I mean, if you're an Oklahoma State fan and you're really trying to sort through this and go, what's the best possible case scenario? I think that it's after the Arkansas game, it's figured out what the legal ramifications are. This was an Oklahoma County issue, not a Logan County issue where Stillwater's located. So it's not an Oklahoma State County deal. It's if Oklahoma County wants to drag it out longer, or Gordon thinks it's better to do that, then maybe he's suspended against Tulsa the whole game, and that's the best case scenario. But if he's suspended for the Tulsa game, then also the Utah game, I don't know what we do, because I do think Brendan Presley and Rashad Owens and Deshaun Stribling are really good as all of our wideouts, but Ollie Gordon is the best player on our team. So taking him away, I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't know as well. Well, Colton, if it's not Oklahoma State, we'll leave it on this one. If it's not Oklahoma State, who's your pick to win the Big 12?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh man,
yeah. Might come back here, a little bit in December, get you back on and be like, "Oh, you were right. Hey, it is these two teams."
Yeah.
But if it's not Oklahoma State, I'd take the fandom out of it. What are you thinking?
I just think Utah's. I'm gonna go with Utah just because they're a newcomer. There's going to be a little bit of that coming in. They played in the Pac-12, which is a pretty tough league. They've got what USA Today is calling is the best quarterback in the league. They've got a pretty solid coach. They were almost in a Pac-12 championship game against some really good teams. I think we'll just go with Utah and we'll call that good. TCU is still pretty down. Texas Tech is still pretty down. Those are some pretty. K-State with that new quarterback, I'm not sure what to think about them. So yeah, we'll go with Utah just because I think that's the other team that has like a more solid foundation to do something with. So maybe I'm probably very wrong, and there's probably somebody listening to this who's just like screaming at me that something was wrong. But well, you can come at me if you want. I don't care.
Scream at us in the comments. Let us know how to be better for the next one a week later from now. But that being said, Golden, It's always here. Thanks so much for joining on the
Thanks for having me, Calvin.
Big 12 Huddle here. And if you're not already, please follow the Big 12 Huddle and the College Huddle here, and subscribe to the podcast as well. Be back in next week, hopefully just continuing on with the weekly podcast episodes. Follow Colton at CD Wounded Knees, because that's still the Twitter?
It's CD _ Wounded Knees, because I have torn both of my ACLs.
And you can follow me at the CGA Tour, and bonus points, I've only torn one ACL.
Yeah, so, I got you beat.
Got me beat there. Meniscus? Did you tear a meniscus?
Yeah, both. And the MCL on one leg, the left one.
I lost completely on this. But with that being said here, follow us there. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.